You may have come across, in your theological travellings, muscular Christianity was popularised in Victorian Britain, and it was all about men taking control of their bodies. And it became popular again in a sort of American influx over the last 20 or 30 years, although twisted somewhat in the acknowledgement that there weren't as many men in their churches as they would have liked. They started making Christianity about DIY and railways and whatever it thought that they thought that men were more interested in than the gospel. It's never really been much of an attraction to me, but if Herod is a fox in the reading from the gospel that we heard this evening, then we should rather hope that Jesus would be something that might tear a fox apart. A lion, perhaps, one who would use his strength to intimidate and to crush enemies. A single blower, a military saviour king. That's what the prophet Hosea preaches about, who promises safety and security in the face of border attacks from neighbouring nations. Or we might follow the saviour pointed out in Deuteronomy, an eagle, a spiritual hero, a teacher of righteousness, who soars above earthly dreariness, carrying followers to mountaintops of ecstatic experience. Or maybe we turn back to Hosea for the image of a bear, powerful, prophetic, a saviour who charges in to critique a culture that has lost sight of God. Any of those images that might tear the fox Herod apart. Or even the humble shepherd. We might think of them as being quite gentle, but really it's a stinking, tiring job, pitted you against wolves for the safety of your flock. Remember, David, before he has his clash with Goliath, has been practicing and honing his martial arts as a shepherd boy protecting the flock. Any of those images would seem appropriate for a saviour going up against Herod the fox. But in today's gospel, Jesus doesn't choose any of those. The images that would have gone down so well with our Victorian antecedents, those who liked a bit of muscular Christianity. Rather, he chooses the image of a chicken. A chicken, you say. But wait, perhaps a chicken was the prized bird of the emperor. It wasn't. Or maybe in the first century it was a rare and rich commodity. It wasn't. Or perhaps it was particularly prized by God as a sacrifice, therefore evoking to the hearer of these words Jesus' eventual sacrifice for his people. Not that either. In fact, the Old Testament passages concerning ritual sacrifice reveal a distinct preference on the part of Yahweh for red meat over poultry. We're told in Leviticus that a guilt offering of 2 turtle doves or pigeons is acceptable if the sinner in question is unable to afford a lamb. But in no instance does the Lord request a chicken. This is the only time that the image of the chicken is used by Jesus or by any of the prophets to refer to God's role as saviour. The image, had it caught on, might well have completely changed the course of Christian iconography, which has been dominated instead by the images and depictions of the Good Shepherd. Were it a little lighter outside, you'd see a few of them on the windows there behind the altar. The rooster plays a small role in the Gospels in helping to fulfill the prophecy that Peter would deny Christ before the cock crows. There's no implication that the rooster did anything but mark the passage of time. And even this second-hand association with betrayal probably didn't do anything to advance the cause of the chicken in Western culture. And indeed, in our contemporary usage, the associations are with cowardice, you chicken, or neurotic anxiety like Chicken Licken, who's afraid the sky is falling on his head, or ineffectual panic, running around like a headless chicken. Yet, as Jesus is there, lamenting over the precious city of Jerusalem, He evokes not the image of a lion, nor the eagle, or the bear, or even the shepherd, nor the warrior king, nor one come to overthrow by military might the oppressing powers of the age, but instead a very different sort of a saviour. A chicken, a mother hen, who loves her chicks so fiercely that she offers shelter beneath her wings. And when the fox prowls, as he does, the chicks are not left to fight for themselves. The hen fights on their behalf, putting her life on the line to save them. And as courageous as a hen might be, those of you who have ever kept chickens will know that they do not tend to fare very well against foxes. The chicken might well die to save her chicks, but she's probably not killing the fox to save them. We shouldn't be too surprised by this image. Even though the mother hen doesn't pop up regularly, alongside the familiar images of shepherds and landowners as parabolic stand-ins for God, nevertheless, we do read of housewives and of baker women as stand-ins for God in the parables that Jesus tells. Jesus, in Luke's Gospel, compares God's persistent seeking out of those who have fallen away to a woman who sweeps the floor in search of a lost coin. He compares God's reign to leaven that a woman hides in bread dough. And there's plenty of female-gendered language to speak of God in the Bible if you know where to look and if you're willing to see it. That is to say, if you can put your own expectations forth every time we say, "Our Father." And it's as much present in the Hebrew scriptures as it is from Jesus' own lips. Jesus isn't instigating some revolution when he speaks of God as female. Rather, he is continuing in the line of the prophets and all those who came before him, revealing to God's people what God is like. In the Old Testament, in the prophet Isaiah, in the book of Deuteronomy, we read of the God who gave birth to you. We read in Hosea of a mother protecting her cubs. In Isaiah of a woman nursing her child, God as the one who nurses us and feeds us from her breast. And Jesus' lament echoes those words. As a mother comforts her child, so I will comfort you. You shall be comforted in Jerusalem. What's the implication then of this strange saviour language? What is it like to have a mother hen for a saviour? What's it like to be baby chicks in the face of a cosmic battle involving powers that kill and being protected just by a hen? Well, for many of us, it's probably tempting to ally ourselves with the fox. My most frequent recurring nightmare is I'm in a tent on a scout camp or something a bit like that, which is enough of a nightmare itself because I was never really terribly outdoorsy, and the Scouts was not an organisation that fitted my personality terribly well. And there's wolves prowling around outside this tent, and it's their intention to sort of maul and eat me and otherwise rip me apart. And I have only my guile to go on, and so I sort of make a pact with the wolves, and then I sort of seek to secretly go around assassinating them with this shiv that I've made out of a piece of flint, which presumably is the one thing the Scouts did teach me. My intentions in this dream are to ally myself to the powers of the age, these wolves, and then to try and undo them from the inside. But that is not the way of God. And that can be hard for us to hear because hen, as a saviour, is a not terribly complimentary term. Maybe it's because our culture places so little value on maternal nurturing. Hens are not seen as fonts of wisdom or sources of strength, nor are we encouraged to emulate them. As they age, they become even less worthy. Think about the associations of old hen. We are not, for the most part, a culture of powerful grandmother figures, as some are around the world. Our female elders are often seen as little old ladies who are in need of being helped across the street. But Jesus calls himself a mother hen, an often laughed at figure, maligned as fussy, flappy, and not too bright. You might well be thinking, I would prefer the lion or the eagle or the bear, please, as my saviour. God, in the image of the hen, is not the saviour we imagined, but she is the saviour that we need. When the fox comes, she is there. She is not the saviour who will kill the fox for us, but she is the saviour who will die for us. Death is what happens when foxes go after chickens. But as you know, friends, death is not the end of the story.